in the grand living room of their luxury penthouse. Beneath a crystal chandelier imported from Italy, Marcus Adeyemi stood like a king defending his throne, except the throne had never really been his. The marble floors reflected the tension in the room. The fire crackled softly in the background, as though it too was uncomfortable with what was about to happen. Across from him stood Evelyn, poised, graceful, dressed in an elegant olive blouse and black skirt, holding a sealed envelope in her steady hands. Marcus didn't look at her the way a husband looks at his wife. He looked at her like an employee who had disappointed him. Beside Marcus stood Vanessa, tall, curvy, confident in her tight black dress. Her manicured nails gripped his arm possessively. She had the look of someone who believed she had already won. Vanessa smirked. Evelyn didn't. "Read it," Marcus said coldly. The words weren't loud. They didn't need to be. Evelyn had been married to Marcus for 8 years. She knew the tone. It was the same tone he used when correcting waiters, when firing staff, when reminding her who paid the bills. But Marcus didn't pay the bills. That was the first secret. 8 years ago, when Marcus was struggling to keep his small tech consultancy afloat, Evelyn had quietly funded him, not with loans, not with help from relatives, with her own money. Money she never told him about. Money she earned before she met him. Money he never asked about because he assumed she didn't have any. Marcus loved telling people he built himself from nothing. He loved interviews. He loved podcasts. He loved the word self-made. He just didn't know the foundation of his success had her fingerprints all over it. Evelyn had grown up differently. While Marcus chased visibility, she built invisibility. While he networked loudly, she invested quietly. While he posted motivational quotes about grinding, she was closing international deals under an LLC no one traced back to her. 3 continents, energy contracts, private equity, shipping routes, a renewable energy firm worth billions, all under the name EM Holdings. No flashy interviews, no social media presence, no Forbes cover. She preferred shadows, because shadows listen, and shadows learn. Marcus never noticed how their mortgage was paid off early, never questioned how his failing startup suddenly had angel investment from anonymous sources, never asked why every business risk he took somehow worked out. He simply believed he was destined for greatness, and Evelyn let him believe it because at first she loved him back when Marcus was ambitious but humble, back when he kissed her forehead and called her his lucky charm, back when he said, "When we win together." But success is a magnifier. It enlarges what's already inside you. And inside Marcus was insecurity. When his company started gaining traction, when interviews started coming in, when money began flowing, something shifted. He began correcting her in public, interrupting her, telling people she doesn't understand business. He would laugh when she offered insights at dinner parties. "Oh, babe, you wouldn't get it. It's corporate stuff." Corporate stuff. If only he knew. The first time he met Vanessa was at a tech gala. Vanessa was loud confidence wrapped in designer fabric. She flattered him effortlessly. "You're brilliant, Marcus. You're so misunderstood. Your wife doesn't match your energy." The classic script. And Marcus, intoxicated by praise, leaned in. Evelyn noticed the change, the late nights, the sudden gym obsession, the expensive gifts that weren't for her. But she didn't confront him. Not yet. Because powerful people don't react immediately. They observe. She had investigators. Yes, the same way she conducted due diligence before acquiring companies. She conducted due diligence on her husband. Private security footage, phone logs, travel records, receipts, proof stacked neatly in encrypted files. She knew about the hotel rooms. She knew about the apartment he rented for meetings. She knew Vanessa wasn't just a fling. Vanessa was positioning herself. But Evelyn wasn't worried. You don't panic when someone is playing checkers and you're playing chess. The public embarrassment happened at a charity gala. Marcus had been nominated for Entrepreneur of the Year. Evelyn attended in a stunning black gown. Elegant, understated. Vanessa arrived separately, uninvited. Midway through the event, Marcus did something reckless. He introduced Vanessa to investors as someone very important in my life, in front of Evelyn. The whispers started immediately. Phones recorded. Eyes widened. Evelyn smiled. She even shook Vanessa's hand, grace under fire. But when a reporter asked, "Is this your wife?" pointing at Vanessa, Marcus hesitated. That hesitation went viral. Clips spread across social media. Headlines exploded. Tech CEO caught in love triangle at charity gala. Entrepreneur of the Year nominee exposed. Vanessa later threw a tantrum. She accused Marcus of humiliating her. "You made me look stupid," she screamed. Marcus, desperate to keep her, turned to the one person he believed would tolerate anything, his wife. "Write her an apology," he demanded. The audacity. Not apologize himself. Have his wife apologize to his mistress. And that is where we return to the living room. Evelyn holding the envelope. Marcus pointing. Vanessa watching. Marcus thought this was about pride. Vanessa thought this was about dominance. But Evelyn knew something neither of them understood. This wasn't an apology letter. "Marcus," she said gently, "who do you think funded your Series A round?" He opened his mouth, closed it. "You told me it was anonymous investors," he said cautiously. It was. She held his gaze. "I was the anonymous investor." The chandelier above them suddenly felt too bright. Vanessa shook her head. "No, that's not possible. Marcus is self-made." Evelyn's eyes flicked toward her. "That's what he believes." Marcus's breathing became shallow. "If this is about the gala, you're overreacting." "Overreacting?" Evelyn repeated calmly. "You publicly introduced your mistress as someone very important in your life, and then ordered me to apologize to her." Vanessa crossed her arms defensively. "You embarrassed me." Evelyn's expression remained serene. "No," she corrected softly. "He embarrassed you. I simply allowed the truth to breathe." Marcus felt the ground shifting beneath him. "You're bluffing," he said. "You don't have that kind of money." Evelyn walked toward the glass coffee table and placed a thin black folder on it. Inside were documents, bank transfers, equity agreements, wire confirmations, 7 years of financial lifelines, all traced back to EM Holdings. Marcus flipped through them rapidly. Each page tightened the noose around his ego. You never worked," he whispered. "I worked," she replied, "just not loudly." Vanessa slowly moved away from Marcus. "How much?" she asked quietly. Evelyn answered without hesitation. "My current net valuation fluctuates, but as of last quarter, approximately $3.4 billion. Silence. The fireplace crackled again, almost mockingly. Marcus shook his head. If you were worth billions, why live like this? Why stay quiet? Evelyn looked around the penthouse. This? She asked softly. This is modest. Vanessa's composure finally shattered. You lied, she shouted at Marcus. You said you built everything yourself. Marcus snapped back defensively. I did. She just invested. Evelyn corrected him again. I stabilized. You gambled. I covered losses. You took credit. Marcus's phone buzzed. He ignored it. It buzzed again and again. Finally, he looked down. Missed calls. Board members. CFO. Investors. His stomach dropped. Another message flashed across his screen. Emergency meeting. Capital withdrawal confirmed. What is happening? Marcus looked at Evelyn in disbelief. You already did it? She nodded. When you asked me to write that letter, Vanessa's face turned pale. Marcus, she said gently, who do you think funded your Series A round? He opened his mouth, closed it. You told me it was anonymous investors, he said cautiously. It was. She held his gaze. I was the anonymous investor. The chandelier above them suddenly felt too bright. Vanessa shook her head. No, that's not possible. Marcus is self-made. Evelyn's eyes flicked toward her. That's what he believes. Marcus's breathing became shallow. If this is about the gala, you're overreacting. Overreacting? Evelyn repeated calmly. You publicly introduced your mistress as someone very important in your life, and then ordered me to apologize to her. Vanessa crossed her arms defensively. You embarrassed me. Evelyn's expression remained serene. No, she corrected softly. He embarrassed you. I simply allowed the truth to breathe. Marcus felt the ground shifting beneath him. You're bluffing, he said. You don't have that kind of money. Evelyn walked toward the glass coffee table and placed a thin black folder on it. Inside were documents, bank transfers, equity agreements, wire confirmations, 7 years of financial lifelines, all traced back to EM Holdings. Marcus flipped through them rapidly. Each page tightened the noose around his ego. You never worked, he whispered. I worked, she replied, just not loudly. Vanessa slowly moved away from Marcus. How much? She asked quietly. Evelyn answered without hesitation. My current net valuation fluctuates, but as of last quarter, approximately $3.4 billion. Silence. The fireplace crackled again, almost mockingly. Marcus shook his head. If you were worth billions, why live like this? Why stay quiet? Evelyn looked around the penthouse. This? She asked softly. This is modest. Vanessa's composure finally shattered. You lied, she shouted at Marcus. You said you built everything yourself. Marcus snapped back defensively. I did. She just invested. Evelyn corrected him again. I stabilized. You gambled. I covered losses. You took credit. Marcus's phone buzzed. He ignored it. It buzzed again and again. Finally, he looked down. Missed calls. Board members. CFO. Investors. His stomach dropped. Another message flashed across his screen. Emergency meeting. Capital withdrawal confirmed. What is happening? Marcus looked at Evelyn in disbelief. You already did it? She nodded. When you asked me to write that letter, Vanessa's face turned pale. You're destroying him, she whispered. Evelyn's gaze softened, not toward Marcus, but toward Vanessa. No, she said quietly. I'm removing myself. Marcus's voice cracked slightly. You're my wife. Yes, she agreed. I was. The word hit harder than any scream could have. Vanessa stepped back further. You're going to fix this, right? She asked Marcus nervously. Marcus looked at her. For the first time, she saw fear in his eyes. Not confidence, not dominance. Fear. Because deep down, he knew something he had refused to acknowledge for years. He wasn't the foundation. He was the facade. And facades crumble when the pillars are removed. Evelyn picked up her handbag. You have 48 hours before the banks call in the loans, personally guaranteed under your name, she said calmly. I suggest you start making arrangements. Marcus's voice lowered. You wouldn't let me fall like that. Evelyn paused at the doorway. You already let me. And she walked out. Vanessa slowly removed her hand from his arm. You said you were powerful, she whispered. He didn't respond because power had just left the room, and it wore heels. Outside, as Evelyn stepped into her waiting car, a driver opening the door respectfully. She exhaled for the first time in years. Her phone buzzed. Her assistant's voice came through calmly. Ma'am, the Singapore deal has been finalized. Also, the board has approved your transition to full public visibility if you choose. Evelyn looked up at the night sky. Not yet, she said softly. Understood. She ended the call and glanced back at the penthouse balcony high above. She didn't feel revenge. She didn't feel rage. She felt relief. Because sometimes the most powerful move isn't exposing your strength. It's withdrawing it. And Marcus was about to learn the difference between attention and actual authority. But this was only the beginning, because losing money is one thing. Losing reputation? That's another war entirely. And Marcus had just stepped onto a battlefield without armor. The first domino fell at 8:17 a.m. Marcus was still in the penthouse. He hadn't slept. Vanessa had left around 3 a.m., claiming she needed space to think. What she really needed was distance from instability. His phone vibrated nonstop. At first he ignored it. Then he saw the email subject line that made his chest tighten. Capital withdrawal confirmation. EM Holdings. He opened it. Short, formal, final. All liquidity positions previously maintained as silent backing have been withdrawn. Outstanding obligations now revert to the primary guarantor, as outlined in original agreements. Primary guarantor. Him. Marcus rushed to his home office and opened his financial dashboard. Numbers began turning red. Credit lines frozen. Emergency reserve inaccessible. Pending deal in Dubai on hold. Funding unverified. He felt sweat gathering at the back of his neck. He called his CFO. No answer. He called again. Finally. Marcus, the CFO said, voice strained. What did you do? What do you mean, what did I do? The silent investor pulled out. All of it. Do you understand what that means? Marcus swallowed. We can replace it. With what? The CFO snapped. Your reputation is already shaky after last night. Investors are nervous. They're asking questions we can't answer. Marcus paced the room. It's temporary. Silence on the other end. Marcus, was your wife the investor? The question felt like humiliation. That's irrelevant. It's not irrelevant, the CFO said quietly. It's catastrophic. The call ended. Marcus looked around the office. The leather chair, the awards, the framed magazine cover that read, "The Self-Made Visionary." He suddenly felt exposed. Meanwhile, Evelyn was in a different world entirely. A private conference room overlooking the city's skyline. 3 executives sat across from her. "Are you certain you want to go public now?" one of them asked. She folded her hands calmly. "Yes, for years you chose anonymity." "And for years," she replied softly, "it served me." She looked out the window. But some lessons require visibility. Within hours, a press release dropped. It didn't attack Marcus. It didn't mention the marriage. It simply announced, E.M. Holdings founder Evelyn M. Okonkwo, revealed as primary investor behind multiple global tech successes, including Marcus Adeyemi's company. The internet exploded. Clips resurfaced. Marcus dismissing her in interviews, laughing when she spoke, calling himself self-made. Side-by-side comparisons flooded social media. The narrative shifted instantly. Not power couple, not visionary entrepreneur, but the billionaire wife he undermined. Vanessa saw it trending while scrolling through her phone in her apartment. Her heart sank. Her friends were sending links, comments, memes. One headline stood out: "Mistress caught in billionaire fallout." Her name wasn't mentioned, but everyone who had been at the gala knew. She called Marcus. He answered immediately. "Tell me it's not true," she demanded. "It's complicated." "Are you bankrupt?" "No." Pause. "Not yet." That was enough. Vanessa closed her eyes. "I didn't sign up for this." "For what?" Marcus snapped. "You wanted a powerful man." "I wanted stability, and I am stable." She laughed, but it wasn't admiration anymore. It was disbelief. You were stable because of her. The call ended, and just like that, Marcus lost the woman he risked everything for. The board meeting was brutal. "Why didn't you disclose the dependency?" one member asked sharply. "It was a private arrangement," Marcus said defensively. "You built your public brand on independence." Another replied, "Investors don't like surprises." Marcus tried to regain authority. "We can restructure." "Without liquidity?" Silence. Finally, the chairman leaned forward. "We're voting on temporary removal pending investigation." Marcus felt the room spinning. "You can't remove me from my own company." The chairman's expression was steady. "You'd be surprised." The vote passed. Unanimous. Marcus walked out of that building not as CEO, but as a liability. Days later, the penthouse felt different, empty, cold. Evelyn had moved out quietly, not dramatically, not angrily, just efficiently. Her belongings were gone, her closet half empty, her side of the bathroom spotless. On the kitchen counter sat a small envelope addressed to him. Marcus stared at it for a long time before opening it. Inside was a single page. No legal threats, no cruelty, just truth. "Marcus, I never wanted to compete with you. I wanted to build with you. But you stopped seeing me as a partner and started seeing me as background. Power doesn't reveal character. It amplifies it. I hope you find who you were before applause became your oxygen." "Evelyn." His hands trembled. For the first time since this began, he didn't feel angry. He felt small, not because she was richer, but because she had been loyal, and he had mistaken loyalty for weakness. Months passed. Marcus sold assets to cover debts. His company survived, barely, but without the explosive growth it once had. Interviews stopped. Invitations disappeared. Vanessa moved on to someone else, someone stable. And Marcus? He learned silence, real silence, the kind that forces reflection. Meanwhile, Evelyn stepped into the light. She appeared on a global finance summit stage for the first time. Not flashy, not arrogant, simply composed. When asked why she remained anonymous for so long, she smiled. Because influence doesn't require noise. The audience applauded. Her companies grew, not out of revenge, but out of strategy. She never spoke negatively about Marcus, never exposed private details. She didn't need to. Her success spoke fluently. Marcus attended a business leadership conference as a guest, not a speaker. He wasn't invited to the main stage. He sat in the audience, and then the host announced the keynote speaker. Please welcome billionaire investor and founder of EM Holdings, Evelyn M. Okonkwo. The room erupted. Marcus looked toward the stage, and there she was, confident, radiant, untouchable, not because of money, but because of self-control. She spotted him in the audience. Their eyes met briefly. No anger, no bitterness, just closure. When she began speaking, her voice was steady. Never underestimate quiet support, she said. Sometimes the strongest pillars are the ones you don't see. Marcus lowered his gaze. The lesson was complete, because the truth was simple. He didn't lose his wife because she was powerful. He lost her because he thought she wasn't. And by the time he realized the difference, the throne he thought he sat on had already been removed.